Hi, all. I'm Dan Smakrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, May 16th, 2019, and you're watching a special edition of WGAN-TV Live at 5. Today, a town hall, Matterport new pricing. We have two executives from Matterport that are joining us. Excuse me. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
It's Chris Bell, Matterport Chief Marketing Officer, with us today from Chicago. And hey, Damien.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you. And Damien Leostick, Matterport VP of Product Management. Chris, Damien, thanks so much for being on the show today. I think it's really tremendous to have you be able to talk firsthand with some members of the We Get Around Network Forum community. Chris, Damien, do you want to talk a little bit about the pricing announcement on Thursday, May 9th, 2019, and what that pricing announcement means both for the existing community as well as those that are new to Matterport thinking about getting Matterport. Chris, Damien?
Sure. Dan, thank you so much for having us on. It's a pleasure to be here. One of the favorite aspects of my job is to get to talk to customers, users, and partners all around the world. And through this medium, it's even easier because we've got people tuning in from Brazil and Turkey, and it's wonderful to have the opportunity. The first thing I wanted to say is hello to everybody. You may not know this, but all of us at Matterport spend a bit of time on the We Get Around network, and I recognize some familiar names and faces, mostly names, and it's nice to be interacting directly with the community because we're as enthusiastic about the possibilities of this technology as you all are. And we also know that, not everyone is thrilled with our announcement. So we want to really create an open dialogue here and just hear both the good side and the not so good side of what you're concerned about. It's not going to work for everybody, but we hope it works for everybody over the long term. What we announced on Thursday, and Damien's going to go into a little more detail about the specifics, is really a whole new way of putting value into the subscription tiers. I like to call it a blueprint for growth because it's the starting point. It's a place where we're able to do more in each tier and provide more value to the brand new person that's just starting out with Matterport, all the way up to someone who is, built a business on it and is moving towards, an enterprise solution and going way above and beyond what our off-the-shelf offerings have to offer. But we really are looking at this as a way to get started with a whole new chapter of Matterport. And the goal here is to grow the pie, to grow the business for you and us and the whole world. There's still, as excited as we are and as much time as we spend every day using Matterport and scanning and doing our work both at the company and out in the field, there's still a very small population of people who have used it and heard about it. And there's so much more ground to cover. We think that our new offering and the way we've organized it will give us what we need to scale. So I'm going to ask Damien to kind of just introduce the basic tenets of the new subscription pricing, what's in each tier. I'll just introduce kind of the value that we've added. For those of you who may not know and might be just tuning in to learn more about it or get information for the first time, we've got unlimited uploads, which is a new thing for us. No more processing fees, so there's not a need to gatekeep in terms of how much content you're uploading to the Matterport cloud. We've introduced the concept of archiving, and it's unlimited archiving. So once again, there's been a history of figuring out what to delete and when to delete. And now every space that you create, everything that you store in the Matterport cloud can be archived and stored indefinitely. We have no more fees for larger spaces, which was a common request for a change that we've gotten over the last few years. It's a very predictable cost, right? So you're looking at a price per month and a price per year that's super predictable, not a lot of overages, no overages, as a matter of fact, and no add-ons. So it's something that our customers have been asking for because the bill tended to be variable depending on what you did with it. And then one of the things I'm most excited about, and I know Damien is too, is that we've now got access to multiple cameras from the low end to the mid end, all the way up to the Leica BLK 360, their ability to contribute to a project. So we're excited about these 5, and we're also really excited about the future, where these new innovations and capabilities take us with the new subscription pricing plan and all the value that's associated. So with that, I'll toss it over to Damien, who's at headquarters in Sunnyvale, to tell you a little bit more about the specifics of what we announced in the product and on the subscription prices.
Oh, good. Thank you, Chris. Hello, Dan, and hi, everyone. So again, my name is Damien Liostic. I'm the Vice President of Product at Matterport. I've been here coming on 3 years now. So not so long, but it's been a great journey. My role at Matterport is really to connect our business functions, sales, marketing, BD, representing our customers, and the product, right? So, product and engineering to, support essentially our mission, right? So what I wanted to do today is actually maybe start with taking a step back, so why did we, take a look at pricing? But before I even do that, I want to talk about, a few things that I think you guys have seen over the past couple of months and how we're rebooting the company and taking some actions, some key actions, across some very important, pillars, within the company. A few months ago, you saw Cloud 3.0 announcement where we opened the ecosystem of devices to new capabilities. So that started last year when we opened up the platform to the BLK360, and that continued back in January when we opened up the ecosystem to 360 cameras. As we look through that, and as we look through, how to onboard, customers, we looked at pricing, and really fundamentally, we are now engaged across the globe in more than 90 countries with a set of very diverse customers. Customers, of different scales, customers of different profiles, customers that serve, different verticals and different industries. So we looked primarily at the existing pricing, and we looked at the problem statement of the pricing. It's a pricing that we all became, used to, but that has some fundamental, scaling issues. If you look at the pricing today or yesterday, a week ago at Matterport, it had, essentially a subscription, right? You guys are, used to that, the classic professional and business subscription. But you had a collection of what we call a la carte or usage-based pricing on top of it. And it made for a very complex and cumbersome, ecosystem to deal with. It's a very complex narrative, to explain to our customers. And really to support our mission, we looked at, the construct of the pricing, and we spent, a good year, talking to a ton of customers, doing a ton of analysis in terms of usage, and adoptions from different customers, different cohorts of customers across, again, different verticals and industries, and formulated essentially the new, pricing strategy to respond, to the scaling issues and complexity of the existing pricing. As you affect change, of course, it's difficult to serve, everyone in the same way. And what I mean by that is, we looked at the most efficient ways, to serve the broader audience, of our customers. So again, like Chris said, we looked at the notion of processing, right? The notion of, free models that expires, every month. The notion of, processing by camera type, right? And again, we're dealing with the Pro family of Matterport. We're dealing with a high-end device like the BLK360, and we're dealing with, 360 cameras. And on top of it, we also had our Pro to Lite camera, which, while being a Pro Matterport camera, had a different, pricing structure associated to it. One of the key principles that we had was how do we eliminate that complexity around processing, again, by camera type and by space type. The second one, we're responding to some, requests from all of our customers around how do I manage my model in a much more efficient way. And this is where archiving comes into play. Archiving is really a means to, help our customer, keep the models that they've built, used, and want to keep in the portfolio.
Damien, I got to interrupt. These folks have read the press releases. They're eager to ask. They're eager to tell you how they feel, and they're eager to ask questions. And if you don't mind, how about we jump into that? And we feel like we've missed.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for moderating. Let me add one quick statement. So absolutely, let's jump in the Q&A. You guys have read it. Just wanting to set the stage as to, and I'm happy to answer all the questions as to why we made the changes. That will inform obviously the decisions we've made, and hopefully we can walk you through those changes and the journey ahead.
Cool. Ross, I'm going to start with you. If you don't mind, just give me a moment. Maybe you can unmute your camera. I just want to let those that are watching on YouTube, you can join us live. If you go to the We Get Around Network Forum, WGAN-Forum.com, just simply look for in the bottom right, there's a red bar. Just click on the bar and you can join the discussion. Ross, how about telling us your name, your company, and your location, and then what you'd like to share, and then if you had some questions for Damien or Chris.
I don't know. Can you hear me yet?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Ross Zanzucci. I own 3D Roomscapes. So I work mostly with right now residential realtors. Plus I do quite a bit of retail business too. And I think what everybody here is wondering, I have yet to hear how this is really, I hear how it's beneficial for Matterport, but I have yet to hear how it's beneficial for us as the service providers. I don't care how I spin the numbers, I can't make it work, especially the yearly fees that you're wanting to charge. Maybe I'm not like everybody else, but coming up with $7,000, even $5,000 every year at one point, and then wondering if you're going to have that business for the full year. I don't know. It just the pricing structure doesn't seem to make sense to me, or I haven't heard anybody on the forum well, maybe a couple people, but very few that it makes a lot of sense to. And to throw it on top, I mean, I guess it was a good thing that you let us grandfather in the old pricing. I fortunately had just signed up for the, I'm not sure what it called, the $149 a month plan like 2 months ago. So, but I can imagine that if I had just the old plan, which was just the basic plan, or this, whatever it was, the $49 plan prior to that, I'd be pretty upset right now. I mean, at least now that the plan that I have fits my business, and I don't think I have to worry about changing at least for a year. But this new pricing for new people and for the people that didn't know what was coming like me and didn't have weren't able to switch to the higher plan of the old pricing, I see a lot of people having big issues with this. And I don't know who you talk to, but you keep saying you got all this feedback, and that's why you created this. The feedback all of us here is the complete opposite. So I don't know who you talk to and where you're getting your feedback from, but that's something we'd kind of like to know too, I guess. At least I would.
Ross, I appreciate all the comments. And the first thing I want to say is we're actually here to listen directly to the feedback, because we actually have talked to a lot of customers. Those customers span our different verticals. We talk to people in architecture, engineering, construction, insurance. Many people in the commercial real estate business have different needs. And I just want to let you know that we have an open mind with this. We want to hear about what works for you and what doesn't. And we'll take that back. Some of our executives are listening right now, and we'll be back in Sunnyvale talking about exactly what you folks tell us and what we need to hear about. The other thing is, when we talk about feedback, and Damien can elaborate on this a little bit, we're not just talking about feedback on the boards or feedback through email. We have a lot of data. We're a data-driven company. And what you're seeing in the tiers and the way that they're organized is largely a reflection of actual usage behavior, what customers are doing, where the price points kind of cut and the usage points change. And Damien had a formidable task to create a set of tiers that really could serve a whole wide variety of industries and use cases and users. And we'd like to think that we're off to a good start. Now, you don't share that view, and I'm not going to try to talk you out of it or anybody out of it, but we are just trying to build a foundation on which we can grow. To answer your specific question, with our enterprise customers and some of our larger plans that are sort of beyond the rate card, when we're working with larger corporations, there's a request that often comes in to make it a yearly payment and make it predictable on a yearly basis for budgeting and planning purposes. That may not work for all of you, and we understand that. But the good news is you can stay on your current plan and adjust either the way that you're billing customers, give us a chance to sort of talk with you and figure out if there are any changes we might want to make over the long term. But for now, there's literally no risk to staying where you are on the current classic plan and continuing to run your business the way it did. But we did really talk to a lot of customers around the world, and Damien looked at a ton of data to help inform the decision about how many models, how many users, how many spaces, and how it should be organized in the most optimal way. Damien, do you want to elaborate on that?
No, thank you, Chris. No, I mean, just say thanks for the setup.
Can I just ask a question that I think a lot of people probably want to ask? Is why not just have that option of a monthly, maybe it's a little bit more per month, but why make it just a yearly payment? Why not make it an option of like?
So look, like Chris said, Ross, nice talking to you. So we're here to listen. So on this particular one, we're taking the feedback. Like Chris said, we're both here. We have folks listening in from headquarters. We heard you. We heard the community as well. So we're here to listen, and we'll follow up. We'll take that back and return a follow-up statement on this one. Chris, anything to add?
Well, I think no. I think that's where we are right now, and I want to let everyone know we're not making any changes immediately. We're just collecting data and feedback and information. We really do want to serve your community. I promise you that. Our new CEO, our relatively new CEO, RJ Pittman, is extremely committed to the MSP community. If it means that we need to look at rebooting the MSP program and inviting some more ambassadors in, I personally, as the head of marketing, will take some responsibility and action on that front. But this should be the start of a conversation, and we're all ears. We're taking the feedback, Ross, that you're giving us, and if anybody else would like to make a point, we understand that a yearly price can be maybe difficult to stomach, but for some customers, it's actually preferred, believe it or not. So we wanted to create a balance and a blend.
Well, wouldn't a balance and a blend be an option?
An option to pay monthly instead of yearly.
Yearly fee monthly.
Yeah, we hear you. We're listening. So let us go back and take a look at what we do with that. Right now, this works for us as a business model with the professional tier also available at monthly. But we know that we're going to need to grow and adjust, test and learn over time. This is not forever. This is not fixed in stone.
Ross, let me circle back to you. Kevin, how about introducing your full name and your company and where you're located? And remember to take it off of mute too.
Does that work? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. What would you like to share with Chris and Damien?
Yeah. From all the comments so far on this video, including Ross's, my first request, when this change came up, it was kind of sudden and not, we who have been working Matterport for several years did not have essentially a pre-announcement notice of this change. And my specific request is that as part of your grandfathering offer for those of us who've been with the system for a year or longer, I've been about 3 years, that you extend to us the ability to switch between the traditional pre-existing plans, not just stick with what you have right now or go to the new plan. That's a specific request.
Kevin, I think that's a reasonable thing to talk about, and I appreciate your need and position on it. Change is not easy. It's not easy for any company, for customers, even internally. We've spent a lot of time figuring this out. And my answer to that is, if we hadn't sort of given you a very open-ended, indefinite period of time that you could keep the classic plan that you're on, I think the feedback that we did it quickly or abruptly might be well taken, but we really we really felt it was a good compromise. And it's difficult to make these transitions technically and business-wise. And we made an announcement on Thursday. We turned over a whole new leaf and a whole new paradigm, which we believe in. Like, we think this is the way forward, no question, blueprint for growth. I hope that most of you who are opting to stay on the classic plans feel that that's a good compromise and an adequate solution. Again, we're here to listen, and we're taking all the feedback back with us to headquarters, and people are listening now so we can discuss it. But at some point in business and the way that we run the company, we have to make a decision and move forward. And we're being bold. We believe that we have a lot of growth that we can bring to all of us. And we're hoping that the fact that you can not only stay on your existing classic plans for the time being, but experiment with the new plans as well in parallel, if that's what you choose to do, is a viable option. But we don't have any plans at this time to sort of open up or move between tiers on the classic plans. Those are going to stay as is.
Kevin, you have a follow-up?
Yes, I do. It's obvious, since you're keeping the door open for people to stay on the classic plans, it's obvious that your accounting algorithms maintain the ability to calculate work done in any of the classic plans. So it is not a question of having to do any additional work for you to be able to extend to any of us who have been on the classic program to switch between the classic programs as well. There's someone on screen here right now that is probably utilizing any of the classic plans. So your system is still maintaining all of these. You've just chosen, at least by what you just said, you've just chosen that, boom, as of last Thursday, you can never change again between the classic plans. That seems to be okay. And your argument is that you've crunched your data and you think that you have a better way forward. Well, we've been part of your ecosystem for years, and if it is a better way forward, believe me, we're going to want to go there. But we want to go there by choice, not by dictate.
Yeah, which we agree with 100%. I mean, in the meantime, the classic plan is available to you. We have no plans to change it. And look, I'll just answer it this way. Building products.
Can I just say something?
One second, let me finish. Building products and adjusting technology, even accounting and financial systems, in order to make it all work together and work the way that Matterport does seamlessly in the ecosystem, it's quite an undertaking. So at some point, as technologists, we have to decide that we're moving on, we're innovating. I've been in this industry and related industries for many years. It's not always possible to keep all of the old technology or legacy plans or accounting alive. We have to make a decision that we're going to go forward. And when we find something like this that feels to us like the way that we can grow the markets and grow the pie, we make a commitment to it and we move forward. So I hope that those of you who have decided to stay on the classic plans for the time being, take a good hard look at the new plans and also look at the kinds of marketing and expansion that we're going to do around them, because we believe there'll be more customers for all of us as a result of this, or else we wouldn't have done it. That's the bottom line.
It sounds to me as though what you're saying in less direct words is, Ross, get ready. We're unplugging your classic plan at 149 flat down the road.
No, not saying that at all. I mean,
okay, if you're not saying that, if you're saying that Ross will have the option to go forward for another 5 years on the 149 plan, I think he said, then why can't I switch to the 149 plan? The software is all in place.
And you keep the thing you keep saying is we're not changing anything, but you have changed it completely. You're not allowing any movement. Before we could switch between plans, so you have changed it, but you keep saying you haven't changed anything. We're letting you stay on your plan the way it is, but you have changed it.
Fair enough. That's a true statement. We have changed the ability to move between plans on the classic. Our thought was that by offering the ability to keep the classic plans at all, that you had chosen some options that you were using to prosecute your businesses today, and we wanted to keep that available to you so that there wouldn't be any changes in that regard. But yeah, I'm not, it's true. We are moving ahead and innovating both on the product side and on the subscription side, and we're keeping our classic plans around for convenience and to hopefully to meet your needs as business people.
Then why didn't?
Thanks, Chris. Kevin, let me come back to you. I know we got
just one quick one.
Kevin, hang on one sec, because we got Ali in Turkey. I think it's well past midnight for him. I want to make sure he has a chance before he dozes off here. Ali, how about your full name, your company name, and where you are in Turkey?
Okay. My name is Ali Rıza Çil. I am from Turkey, Istanbul, the biggest city of Turkey, and I have 5 people, 5 multiple service providers with me following this conference on YouTube, and they are writing me via WhatsApp. The main issue is like this. My company name is, by the way, Dream Reality in Turkey. So the main issue is...
Excuse me, and I believe you have 2 Matterport Pro.
Yeah, I have 2 Matterport Pro camera. I am in the business model. I have 300 hosting business model, and I already have 320. So there is 2 kind of customer I see. One of them is short-term, like real estate agents, and the second of them is long-term, like corporate companies, restaurants, showrooms, etc. And my 80% of my business is in the second option, long-term. And until now, I was giving them minimum 5 years hosting, including my pricing, trusting Matterport that it's a big company, that they don't change anything. And you said that we are not going to change it. But until when? This is my first question. Second is, how can I continue offering this kind of pricing? Because with new pricing model, my hosting fees extended 6 times more, right? 600%. And in Turkey, we are in economical crisis, and USD currency increased it 60% comparing last year, which makes Matterport pricing 10 times more than last year. I cannot increase my offers 10 times, 10,000%. I can only increase my pricing 20%, which is an inflation rate in Turkey. So it is not sustainable for Turkey Matterport service providers with new pricing model. And since I have a limited hosting, I have 300 space, right? And I already have 320. I can delete maybe 56 of them, real estate agents customers. But how can I continue offering corporate companies with this pricing model? I mean, my friends in other Matterport service providers writing me in WhatsApp, how can we continue making Matterport business in Turkey? And by the way, I am Matterport service provider since 2015. I mean, like 4 years.
We thank you for your commitment in the business. So I'm going to answer the first part of your question, and Damien will talk to you about the hosting fees and the possibility of as your business is increasing and you have more and more spaces under management, it may be appropriate to do an enterprise deal. I'm not sure exactly what level you're at this point, but as far as not changing, we are on record saying we have no plans to change the classic situation, the way that they're set up today. And if we do ever change them, there'll be at least a year's notice before we do anything with them. So that should give you some comfort level. It should really give everyone some comfort level. We're not, we have not even discussed a time frame for this, because the whole point of it is to give you something that you can run your businesses against for the foreseeable future, which is why we've said indefinite. And you can, you can hold us to that promise. As far as the differences in currency and economics worldwide, I think that's a business problem that we can all appreciate, but we may need to talk about some kind of arrangement where your usage as it grows and grows has more of an enterprise arrangement with us. Damien has spent a lot of time looking at the differences between, or not the differences, but the outcomes of different size hosting plans and how we're transitioning from the old to the new. So I'm just going to ask him to comment on your needs around hosting fees and your observations of your employees and colleagues.
Thanks, Eddie, and thanks for sharing your business background and the diverse set of use cases that you serve. So you mentioned two type of customer profiles that you have, maybe more on the short term, a more transactional nature of the business, where I scan a space, I publish it, and then retire the space. And then you talk about maybe I think it was 80% of your business that has a need for long-term hosting.
Yes, minimum 5 years.
So again, five years hosting?
Between 5 years to 10 years, I need that, because I am competing with classical virtual tours, which is they are hosting, self-hosting provided, and Matterport doesn't provide self-hosting, so I need to compete that. So I need to provide minimum 5 years to 10 years hosting that corporate companies.
Okay. And just to stay on the terminology of the new plan, in those 5 and 10 years hosting, do you need to keep all your spaces active at any time, or do you have an opportunity to archive and leverage the new feature that we offer?
Maybe you also checking the statistics. I am also checking the statistic I am providing these corporate companies. Most probably, even the real statistics are their visiting rates decreasing after maybe 3 months. Their visiting statistics decrease so much. So you may think that they don't need anymore. But sometimes they need, even they are calling me. Sometimes if the problem with, how do I say, they cannot reach sometimes. They are directly calling me. And even they need it 5 years later, but I need to provide it because they are putting it their websites, their corporate website, like this is my showroom, this is my exhibitions areas, right? Especially hotels. I mean, for the hotels, they need to keep them every time because the statistics are increases, visiting increases with hotels and other tourism businesses. They want it to keep like that. It doesn't matter how much they get the visit.
I understand. Okay, so you have essentially 2 choices now. You have the option to keep your classic plan. You've built obviously your business model and your business structure, on the classic plans. I understand the problem statement that you're mentioning here. I'm not completely clear as to whether or not just yet you can leverage the benefits of the new plan. Right? So again, the 2 key benefits of the new plans are unlimited processing and the ability to archive the spaces. So I am sure the new plan will resonate with a portion, at least a portion of your existing business. Yeah. As for the other, it's a little hard to comment without truly understanding essentially your business model, your business structure, how you approach hosting and long-term hosting with those clients. But again, from my standpoint, you have access to options with Matterport now, and I don't know how much time you have, and Dan is going to moderate. I'd love to better understand essentially how you set up and approach hosting with your commercial and residential customers.
It's very difficult. My last question. A customer I am visiting and I am explaining what is the advantages of the Matterport, and they request me a quote, a proposal, including for long-term 10 years. Until now, I knew that my hosting fee is $38, for example, $38 processing cost, and $5 hosting cost per year, which is $50 hosting cost for 10 years, which is $88. I know that, and I add my margin on top of that and other costs, and I can prepare a proposal. Now, how can I create a proposal? Because I don't know. You said that we will announce in 1 year in advance if there is a change, but I don't know. In 2 years, my Matterport cost can increase. So how can I make a proposal? I don't know what will be my cost of Matterport the following year.
Okay. Okay. So two things here. So first off, like we said, your grandfather on your plan. So you have a safe place to be. And we've mentioned that we're not going to leave customers behind. And we're signaling to you that obviously our pricing and our go forward is changing. Right? So obviously this conversation is probably the first where we can exchange on how to adapt on a go forward basis. Right? So now you're going to be engaged with us and say, on a go forward basis, what do I need to change in my business model or the way I think about this? To embrace, the new plans, and whenever you're ready to jump on those new plans. As to again, yeah. Go ahead,
Last
Ali.
question: can there be another option? If there will be a fee for Matterport to make self-hosting, for example, there is no processing fee, or there is a processing fee like $30, and there is $50 self-hosting fee. That solves everything, or $6, I don't know, because I can then calculate my costs. Matterport also can calculate. If you can provide me self-hosting, whatever the cost is, then I can make my business plan. I can make my proposal based on this. How about that? If it is
we welcome
available.
Thanks, Ali. We welcome any piece of feedback, and thank you for that, and for being creative and open about your business. One of the key guiding principles of the new pricing is what you just mentioned, which is predictability. And the new pricing may not just work for you as of now. It might not for you 6 months on the road, but we're confident that over time it's going to work for you. Right? And again, if you look at the complexity of the existing plan and the unpredictability nature of those plans with different charges based on different cameras, or depending on the seasonality of your business, so on and so forth, we removed one of that, complex variable, from the equation. And essentially the new plans are much more predictable. So, once again, thank you for, the feedback, taking it in. I'm taking some notes. And this is not obviously how the new plans, works just yet, but, we see some avenues about, having those plans, over time, to provide you with, the transition that you need, whenever it's time for you to transition.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Damien and Ali. John, if we could move on to you, if you could tell us your full name, your company, and where you're located. Excuse me.
Okay, my name is Aderiza. I am from Istanbul, Turkey. My company name is Dream Reality. Official name is VR Bilişim Sanayi. But my brand name is Dream Reality, and dreamreality.com.tr my website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali. John, if we could move on to you, and if you could let us know your full name, your company, and where you're located.
I'm John Rudy. I'm founder of Upper West Side Marketing Group, web design, real estate marketing company in Morristown, New Jersey. I guess like anybody else, when I woke up and saw last week that my business model might not work anymore, I was concerned like anybody else. The more I looked into it, it actually seemed, for what I do, it seemed a little bit of the best of both worlds. Unless I'm mistaken, I can keep my current plan. The overages would be billed the way they normally were. That will continue, so I can keep that. I can take on a second plan, if I'm not mistaken, that will allow me to, and this is where I saw the benefit, of allowing to do samples of more than 2 scans, giving me the chance to show potential clients who may not understand technology exactly how it can benefit them. And when they see their own business on the tablet or the computer, they might be a little bit more inclined to move forward. Obviously, with the previous plan, it's not as easy. I'm not 100% sure why the no debit thing came into play, but one of my clients asked me about that. The other thing I've been asked a lot is how these people can do their own Matter tags and the collaboration. And I think that's where the plan of not being able to move up to the $150 plan classic becomes a little bit of a problem. What I'd like to see is maybe some things where we could add more collaborators and things to that effect, which would make it easy for the people who handle smaller businesses to work with them on a consulting basis. Like I said, with the new plan, I see the advantages, especially in real estate, of commercial businesses, small commercial offices where, it's on the market for a while and then it's off. People don't want to say, I don't want to spend, monthly fees for something that's not going to be used. They lease these things for, to be a year at a time or more. So, like I said, not to beat a dead horse with everybody else, but I would think when people get a little nervous that what they're doing now might not be working in a year or so. So I guess my question would be, do you look at how these, I'm sure you do, these small businesses are working with other small businesses? And specifically things like collaboration and things to that effect.
So one piece, thanks for the feedback, John. One piece of clarification for me, maybe two. Which plan are you on today?
Right now I'm on the classic $49 one, which I plan to keep, and as well move on to the $69 one for the other plan, for the new. If I'm not mistaken, I can hold two accounts, correct?
You can. And like Chris said, I'll start with that maybe, of course, you're more than welcome to stay on your existing plan, absolutely. And for us, it's a great way for you guys to actually, go and try the new plan. So, by all means, and if you want to go experiment, on the new plan, go ahead. And, obviously that will give you an appreciation for the benefits of that plan. And over time, hopefully that will become your permanent home in terms of your, subscription service with Matterport. So that's one. Two, I'm just trying to wrap my brain around a little bit your questions around collaboration. Are you saying that your existing classic plan does not offer enough, team collaboration, options, or is it something else?
I believe it offers 5, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if I have 5 with, say, 100 spaces or say 100 different clients, a lot of them are going to want to do their own matter tags. The only current system is I ask them if they give me a little bit of notice, I'll give them access to it, but that's only going to last for so long, especially with the more and more accounts I add with overages. Otherwise, I have to charge them, and that can get very pricey very quickly, and they don't want to have to call me every time they want to make a special or something to that.
Absolutely. Yep. So that makes a ton of sense. We if you look at the existing plans, the new plans, and the classic plans, you're going to see that collaborators, is a differentiation, per all the plans that we have. In the new plans, you'll see the same thing between the professional plus, business plus. So the numbers are what they are. Obviously, they seem a little low for, from what you want to do. We take the feedback, but we absolutely look at that as being essential. Collaboration in terms of small teams and larger teams, depending on, the business, size essentially of our customers. Drove, the choice of, that volume capacity around collaborator. So I'll take your feedback. Some things, very informative to understand how, you use the platform and how, you could even do more if you had a little more of the, collaboration volumes in front of you.
Thank you, Damien. John, thanks for your questions. Jefferson, how about introducing yourself, your full name, company, and where you're located?
Let me turn my audio. Hello, I am Jefferson. Everybody knows me as Takeda. My company is takedasan.com.br. I am from Brazil, and I have a digital agency since 1996. And since 2016, I'm working with the Google Street View as a trusted photographer, a trusted agent. My digital agency, I gave him a name, img360.com.br, focus on Street View project with 360 cameras. I use today DSLR and Iris 360 camera. And in a couple of months, I am studying the Matterport ecosystem and the competition, because I think it's a great product, and I'm studying to enter on this market also. So I am not a Matterport service provider at the moment, and I am feeling the pain of the Matterport MSP. around the world with this change, this changing, this price changing the Matterport have made. But for me, as a new customer, really, it is easier for me to understand the prices this way now than the other way. I feel the pain of the actual Matterport service providers because they increase the value of the price. But I think it's changing. We can't handle. We must handle with changes. And everybody, I think, at the moment, they must change their business plans. And for me, as a new Matterporter customer, I think I need to adapt myself to these changes. But there are things I think that can be better at the moment. For example, as Roa said, I think for me, when I saw the price table, and the biggest thing for me, it was the business plan, the annual contract. I think it's okay. You have an annual contract, but paying it yearly, it's too many high. I think I think you could maintain the annual contract, but you should give us to be able to pay it monthly. I think this is a great change for me and for all the Matterport community, because I think it's easier to pay if we are changing the business plan. I think everybody needs to create a monthly plan from the clients to support these new bills. So I think if we pay monthly, it's easier to pay this annual contract monthly. Or we should take the money from the service to pay this big annual plan once. So I am asking here to review the business plan. You can keep the annual contract, but let us pay it monthly.
Thank you. Obrigado, tudo bom?
Tudo
bom. So, first off, thanks for the testimony and acknowledging, one of the key, change in the new plan, which is simplicity. And, I'm glad it's, resonating with you. It's much easier to understand for us, for you, as we change the narrative to our customers and engage in a way, that doesn't start with complexity, right? Like it was before. So that's one. Thanks again for the testimony. The second one, I think it was Kevin earlier that mentioned the same, request. So we hear you. We're taking the feedback. We understand the changes and how a change there will simplify the equation and probably make your cash flow management more manageable. We understand that. So I'll give you the same answer we gave Kevin. We're here to listen and engage with you. Take that in and put it in the in the feedback basket that we're getting from social and from this exchange here.
Yeah, there's one thing actually I wanted to add or question. So it's refreshing and interesting to hear from Takeda, who's a new customer. I sort of wanted to ask all of you a general question, and Dan, you can figure out who might be best to answer this. But do you need all of your models active at all time versus archived? And I ask that because a lot of our brand new customers, they're people that are actually buying Matterport cameras and SaaS for the first time right behind me here in Chicago, are liking the ability to have this archive function, sort of an unlimited archive function. But the question we have is there really a use case where all of the models need to be active, or are we going in the right direction with this notion of sort of cold storage and then bringing them active again? Who wants to comment on that?
Kevin?
Maybe I can say that if I am a real estate agent, if I was a real estate agent, I could set that, no, I don't need, because some of the portfolios going back and sometimes I need them, sometimes I don't need. Yes, then I don't need that all of time. But if I'm a restaurant, if I have a hotel, if I have a showroom, so yeah, I need that all of time. The visiting statistics can increase sometimes and decrease later on. Maybe I get 1 visit per month sometime, but I need to live it at all time.
Okay.
Evan, you wanted to comment on this too. I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, thanks. Chris, I agree with what Ali said. First of all, that commercial spaces, generally speaking, they're going to want to keep them up for a long period of time. Residential real estate comes and goes. For me, I'd probably say 75% of the work I do is residential real estate, but I keep many more Matterport spaces active for the simple reason of how I promote my own business. I'm a active and enthusiastic user of Ross Peterson's WP3D models, and I particularly like the fact that when people go to my website and they see the map structure in there, they can see dozens and dozens of properties that I've shot, so that they can, if they want, they can look at ones in my neighborhood, in their neighborhood, wherever they are, because I cover a very large area here in Los Angeles County, and can see active samples. So I like to keep a greater number of properties active, even though they've sold and they're off the market now.
And Kevin, if I can, Damien here, Kevin, if I can ask one clarifying question, thanks for the feedback. You know, when you keep that space, those spaces active, do you only keep them active on your own domain, or do they stay active somewhere else, wherever you have distributed that those spaces?
Well, they two ways. Principally on my own website, but secondarily within Ross Peterson's WP3D model system, you can set up essentially a sub website for individual agents. I haven't pursued that, but I've been meaning to make use of this more. But for example, Brian Whitcanack is an agent that I've done a great deal of work for, and within Ross's system, I can set up a page just so that all the work I've done for Brian shows, and he can use that when he goes out to pitch new listings to get people excited about Matterport and the work I do in general. He has a single sub page within my system where he can see all of the models that he's done. Now, not everything needs to be active there, but for a better client, I'd want to keep, up to 10 or 12 models active anyway, maybe the more impressive homes. So, but over a lot of different clients, that could mean keeping 100 models active. So there are reasons other than just a commercial property. Like when I go out to a restaurant, of course, they're going to want to keep it active for years.
Okay. Go ahead. I have a follow-up question since you have the floor. So thanks for the context. That's super helpful. When let's say you have a client in real estate, right? So you said that the property is going to stay active, for a short while or whatever it needs to be, right? A few weeks, few months. How do you approach that with your clients? How do you set up that conversation, and that to the extent you can comment? Do you set up the space for a short period of time, a longer period of time? I'm trying to correlate the new plan and the benefits to what you're doing here with the spaces, and specifically the ability to activate and archive spaces. As
I see it anyway, my 3 years of experience with Matterport, there will always be a benefit to keeping as many models active as possible. It's different, but to some degree, making a model on Matterport and putting it on your servers and that's feeding is like Vimeo or YouTube. Ideally, it just stays active and stays there. If you're archiving something, or if you're or if you're, well,
No, I get it.
I mean, you understand what I'm after there.
I completely get it.
I have never yet gotten an angry call from a client that I shot maybe a Matterport for 2 years ago saying, where'd it go? I can't find it anymore. What happened to it? I haven't gotten one of those angry calls. Maybe someone else here has. But
thank you. I think we're having some feedback from someone's mic being open. Ross, excuse me if I can, Damien. Ross, could you just maybe give an example of how your project in Gray's Lake, it seems like that's you're creating content that's living forever.
Yeah, so that's got me concerned, and I'm having a meeting with the village this week to talk about that, how we're going to move forward based on this new pricing, because I can see that not working. Before, my plan was to just buy another, if I had more than 300 models specifically in this project that I had to keep active, would be to buy a plan and all those projects in that plan. So they would stay active, and I would, or pay overages, and that was all kind of built into this. But with only being able to keep 250 in the new plan, so only the maximum to keep live is 250. I see that being a problem for a lot of people. I can see it being a problem for me coming down the road, but not right now. It's not an issue, but I can see that being I don't understand why there's this 250 limit, and I think a lot of people are having issues with that also.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for the feedback.
When we go over 250, I'm not sure I understand what happens then.
Thanks, Ross. So I guess two things, Ross. The first one is this is not really a limit of 250. It's a limit of 250 active models. I think you get that. You can dive as many models as you.
Excuse me, Damien. I
make one quick.
I just want to speak up in behalf of Ross, though, because Ross has a very interesting business model. Ross, do you want to just pick up on it a little bit more? Because your models need to live forever in your business model.
Right. I created an interactive map for the community I live in.
Ross, could you share that?
How do I do that? I'm not
Just
sure.
call up the website or tell me and I'll call it up. Remind me of the URL.
It's village GraysLakeVillageCenter.com.
And while he's calling it up, I just want to say, Ross, that is fantastic. I've shown it to a lot of people. I think what you're doing there is incredible. And by the way, I'm from Chicago too, even though I'm in LA now.
I'm sorry, Ross, could you just pass me the link so I could copy and paste it?
Okay, hold on.
Damien, I think it's really helpful to see what Ross is doing. It's an amazing business model. Excuse me.
Looking forward to seeing it. Absolutely.
Okay. I'm just calling up. Just take me a second.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it. I got it, Ross. Thank you.
And then you click on it, the one. So then you click on, there you go.
This is cool. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So he's building out this platform, and as you click, some of the digital assets are Matterport 3D tours.
This one wasn't a Matterport tour. This one was just a video.
I have seen your work before.
I've seen it too.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
got passed around the office.
anyway,
Sure.
Those are all local businesses that have photos, video, audio, Matterport, Aerial 360, and that's an example of the content living forever.
Yeah, if I were to start pulling those models out because I can't store them any longer, or I have to archive them, or that's going to be a real issue. It's not a model you can build on, that's for sure. So you have limits. When you put limits on it, you can't build on it. So
So I guess there's two things I wanted to say, Ross. So thanks for sharing your work. I'm glad everybody got to see it here. So look, first and foremost, the day you're, looking at jumping to the new plan, give us a call. We'll work with you, right? It may not be obvious today, but we're going to work very, very hard, to, provide, a transition the day it makes sense to you. For the time being, we talked about it earlier. You're on the classic plan. You have obviously a safe home for your large collection of models. You can even grow that collection and keep obviously running your business. It's the same thing. This is what I told Kevin earlier. We're taking the feedback. As you make fundamental changes in a business, there are instances where the use case just doesn't work, right? And this one could be an example of it. Okay, and we're aware of it. We didn't want to affect, obviously, Ross, the way you're running your business and the way you're going to continue to run your business. And we're taking the feedback in. The new plans are here. They are first step in a journey. They will evolve, for the better. And hopefully at some point, as you're ready and the value is there, you'll transition. But for the time being, again, I'll repeat, you're good where you are. You know how, to keep growing your portfolio. Happy to again engage directly with you if you want to take on the new plan and learn more.
Thank you, Damien. Chris, if I can, we've had some members that have not had a chance to ask some questions.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say to Ross that what you're building there is exactly in the spirit of where we're going with the company, taking the raw materials that we've created and that our inventors and founders have created and building on top of them and exploring creatively. When we say that we're moving to become a platform company, this is exactly what we mean. And Damien and I will give you our word to work together to make it possible to be even more creative and do more on top of Matterport and with Matterport over the coming months. So I just want to compliment you on the work. And that site actually has been passed around the office a couple of times. I recognize it, and I think it's fantastic.
Great.
But Chris,
thanks.
Can I add a comment here?
Ali, let me rotate back because we have some members we haven't had a chance to speak yet. Romain, could you perhaps take it off?
Very short comment.
Yeah, so let me just, Romain, in the meantime, Romain, can you take it off mute and show your video so you can ask your questions directly? Ali?
Chris, what Chris said is very, very good, but the new pricing let us to create all these magnificent things, but provide is like Instagram stories in short term. I mean, when we create this with very big effort, we need to keep it for a long time. I don't want to keep it for months. I mean, it's not Instagram story. It is, it is very valuable thing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ali. Romain, can you give us your full name, your company name, and where you're located?
Hi, my name is Romain. I have a company in Paris, in France, and I started Matterport since 1 year and a half. I was very interested about doing archives projects, like art, museum, stuff like that, which will ask for long-term plans. Right now, I started very slowly, but I'm still with 74 models. I will say I need to keep like 80% of them. So I'm very exciting about new formula. I'm really exciting about have no processing, no hosting. But the thing is, I saw since last Fridays in forums, most of the people are not happy with the new plans, and a lot of people show that it's a 6 times increase for their business. I don't understand what you can answer them about that, because the main problem is the active plans, I think. Like the limited active plans in the new plans. the limited active models in the new plans. I think you really have to work on that. Yeah, sorry, because my English is not good. I just wanted to listen to you. So thank you.
Bonsoir, Romain.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. I'm gonna do it in English if it's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
And thanks for staying up late, to talk to us. Okay, so good feedback. Congrats on the 74 models, that you have already. Look, taking your feedback, I think, like you said, there's been some feedback on the forums about, the size of the plan and the quantity of active models that we've provided. So, we're taking that feedback, we're listening obviously to, your use case and how you use the product and others. We talked about arts and museums and online galleries. So taking that in, the feedback is vivid and clear. If you don't mind me asking quickly, and then I go back to you, which plan are you on today yourself?
I'm on the Pro Classic plan. So I have like 10 models. I have to say that I was very frustrated about like the new change about the more 100 scan to be charged. I was very using that, but anyway. Yeah.
Okay, that's one of the advantages of the new plan, right? The new plan provides you with unlimited uploads regardless of the camera type you use and regardless of the space size. So I think that would be a good way to take advantage of those capabilities. So look, Romain, same thing. We're taking the feedback. Again, like Chris said, I'm not going to go back at it, in full force, but we looked at constructing a plan that will address different customer segments, profiles, and industries. Okay, and we locked on this notion of an active space, as being a good way to interact with our customers across different regions of the world and different industries. We removed those barriers of adoptions, being complex processing paradigms and hosting. And then we chose the plans. And again, the plans are not just the pro and business plan. We haven't talked about that today. The pricing starts with our free tier, the starter plan, and then grows up, in value. You've seen that we've added, feature-based pricing. Each of the plan has, a value stack that grows, along the way. So to bring it home, Romain, look, we heard the feedback, prior to your comment today on the size of the active limits, and we heard it before, heard it today. We're taking it in. It's good. It's exactly why we're here to listen to those use cases. Chris, I don't know if you have something to add here. I would love to hear one or two more use cases, though.
No, I'd love to hear more too. The more that we hear about how people are using the product and situations that we may not have thought of ourselves, the more rich the conversation will be for us.
Great. Thank you. Leon Herbert, how about giving us your company name and where you're located?
Thanks, man. It's 360 Pro. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. Been using Matterport for about 2 years now. Sorry I'm late. I was shooting. I did say I was going to shoot.
That's a good thing.
Shooting and on Matterport and on the video at the same time, but that didn't work out.
But thank you for joining. Fill us in on, are you happy? Do you have concerns about the pricing? And then what kind of questions do you have for Damien and Chris?
I'm actually quite happy with what is happening. I mean, what has been done, the options. I think that I can use it in my system, what I thought about. The one thing I do have an issue with is the option of only having a yearly plan. I don't know if you guys have spoken about this while I was away, but going to the business plan and then it's got to be yearly only. That's crazy to me. I'm already over 50 models, so and my business is growing, so I would be forced to have to get that, and I really can't see a reason. The only reason I can see that you guys are doing this is to tie us in to the system. Tie us in for a year with Matterport. As harsh it may sound, I think that's what's going on. And honestly, as I've said before, I've got the camera. The camera costs quite a bit of money. I'm not going to go and start doing something else. I'm not going to use the camera as a doorstop. But for me to, with the size of my business the way it is at the moment, for me to pay such a large amount of money up front is just not feasible. And I really would like to use, the plans, but have the opportunity to use the monthly option.
So Leon, I'm gonna thank you for your question. We did talk about it at length, so perhaps you can watch the response to that question in the We Get Around Network forum when we post this video.
Leon, we're
solved.
It's a common topic.
Can we pause maybe for 1 second? So, sure, go back and, listen to the recording. Can you elaborate maybe in just 1 minute in terms of, the benefits that you see, for your business, tied to the new pricing? Just briefly, what does work for you, in that new structure?
Well, selling blocks of tours to, tours to, say, for instance, real estate agents. I've got a block of, say for example, 25 tours. They pay me monthly for that. It is more efficient for me to not have to pay the charges every time I process, because now I can, one of those realtors, say they've got a set of 5, they can ask me to scan 5 houses 5 times in a month. And they're paying me, and I'm getting what I want per month, but I'm not getting charged that processing fee every single time. So for me, that's how I'm thinking I would be using it. Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but that's what I thought.
Okay, thank you. Our next Leon. Leon, how about introducing yourself, and where you are?
Hi, Dan. Hi, everybody. I'm Leon. I'm just outside London.
So, excuse me, Leon, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you, or at least I am. Maybe if you can either speak up or if you're able to get closer to your microphone, wherever that is.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just outside London. Company is Responsive Reality. I am not a Matterport service provider. I work with other people, but I've always been interested in Matterport because it's an established brand. If I have Matterport work, I contract that out. I'm developing a business model, and I'm fairly advanced where we're going to have to work with a group and scanning over 100 models, which is a long-term hosting scenario, which will require a long. Now, the key thing for me is simplicity. I want to pay per model. I understand how your model works, but and the different tiers in your models and slight pricing. But for me, I want to be able to bring a model in and take it out, have it for 1 month, or I want to have it for 5 years or whatever. I want to be able to change or update the model for that specific site as time processes on. And obviously, archiving, I'd like to archive everything that I have somewhere, and I don't particularly want to pay for it. But I think the advantage is for Matterport here, because they need all the models as well for whatever reasons they need them for. Now, I want to pay per model per month, simple. If I have 10 models, I want to pay a certain price. If I have 50 models, I want to pay a certain price. And so the price comes down the more models I have, and I pocket the difference. Now, I charge my customers on a monthly fee for the initial capture fee, which is relatively at cost, and then there's a monthly fee with an update once a year. Now, I like the simplicity of the model. The previous model was very complex and difficult to understand. So the simplicity is key. The average cost per model, if it's $2.50, If it's $2, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm charging the customer a factor of 10 or 20 or 30 of that fee. Now, there needs to be some sort of stability in the pricing. If we're going to have a yearly price increase or a price adjustment, depending on your volumes, I understand. But, you know, as long as it's within a Western Hemisphere inflation type of increases, I can manage it on because I can write it into the contracts with my clients that the hosting pricing will be adjusted on a yearly basis. But tell us, you're going to look at the prices on the 1st of January every year, and there might be a inflationary adjustment. Then I know how to budget for it and build it into a business plan. But I think the current plan, how do we go forward with this to make it palatable for more people? I think you need to just bring in your business plus plans, a monthly version, and that will take a lot of pain away in the marketplace. Otherwise, you're going to have people bitching a lot about it. I mean, in anybody's book, if you want to go in and now you've got to pay for 100 or 250 models and you only have, say you go from 100 to 101, now you have to pay for 250 models, and your average cost per model all of a sudden shoots through the roof until you've got more models in that year. Now, one thing I'm not quite sure about, and this is a question that you need to elucidate me on, is can I have multiple subscription tiers? So I can start off with a professional, and then if I move to 30 models, I can take out another starter, so I have 35 models, and so sort of build it up until I get to the next tier. Then I upgrade my plan to the next tier. Is that possible, or do I have to only have one subscription tier?
So two things there. Be careful. The free and starter plans are only compatible with 360 cameras. So that's one thing I want to tell you. The pro cameras of Matterport and the BLK, become available on the professional and business tier. So just as a point of clarification.
I take that. Let's start then with the professional tier. So if I get say a professional plus and I get to 50 models and I want to have 51 models, can I then add a professional to my professional plus to only pay for 75 to have 51 models? Or do I have to go to 100 active models? Pay for 100 active models whilst I have 51 active models.
Let me make sure I understand the question you asked. Let me play it back to you, make sure I got this. So you start with a professional plan at 50 models, professional plus at 50 models active. And if you want to have 51 active models, what is your path forward? Is that your question?
Yes. Do I have to then upgrade to business model?
So if you need to have 51 active models, yes, your option therefore is to move up to the business tier, right? The other option is.
Or can I get another professional model which gives me another 25 active models?
So you can also do that. Or you can manage, if it's really a hard requirement that you need to have 51 active models, those are your choices. Or, stay within your professional plus tier and archive, a few models to make some room.
And let's assume all the models are live.
Okay, got it. So, yes, upgrade or add to the plans.
Man.
Okay. Excuse me. I see we've been getting some comments from those that are in our virtual green room. Let's see. ArcMed Studios ask, can you please explain the point of archiving a space? It takes space on your servers, but nobody can access it. Who asked for that? I think that is kind of speaking to the question of, isn't it good for everyone if the spaces are public? Because the more people who see the spaces, that means there's more people who might like to shoot Matterport, means more work for Matterport service providers. I think that's the gist of the kind of the question that's been asked in the We Get Around Network forum. greatest good for the greatest number? I don't know how to ask that question. Chris, Damien?
I'll try, and then maybe Chris can augment what I'm going to say. So first off, believe it or not, archiving has been a highly requested feature, by the community. In the previous paradigm, you didn't have that option to archive a space. The only option you had was to delete it. If you had to make room in whichever tier you were on, your only option was to delete a space, and then that space was gone, right? So archiving, gives you an ability to manage your models differently, more seamlessly, right? And you shoot it, you use it, and if somehow you don't need to use it anymore but want to keep it, you have that option. And then the second piece to my answer is it really depends on the use case, right? We deal with a large number of customers, in insurance, in construction engineering, in facilities management, and other use cases where they're dealing with a high volume of spaces created, and then for them they need to archive it. Let's take an example. I shoot daily documentation of a space. I shoot day one, I look at it, I don't need it anymore, I archive it, and I shoot it again the next day. I have the option to go unarchive or reactivate that space I shot on the first day, and I have that complete control over my portfolio. So essentially, what are the benefits of archiving is that you don't have to delete a model, right? And for some of the customers that we have, it's actually a requirement. It's actually part of their workflow. So I'm going to leave it as that. Chris, I don't know if you want to add to it. If not, happy to expand on that.
Well, I'll just say that reiterate the fact that my group does a lot of the customer surveys of MSPs and Matterport users at large, and it's a balance that we need to find between the need to keep active and the need to keep archive. But both the survey data and the active usage data suggest that Damien's model and our plan has struck a balance. We're learning on this very call about situations and use cases that we may need to adapt to over time and add more value into the plans. But there is right now always an option to archive unlimited numbers of spaces that give you freed up active spaces, and that's where we are today. But there are different use cases, as Damien mentioned, and we have to really try to incorporate all of them into our thinking. So
Chris, Jello fan writes, Romain nailed it. The new plans would be more palatable if they had large active limits or allowed overages at the same rate as the classic plans. You have a comment on that?
Sure.
The new plans would be more.
I've never heard anybody request overages before. That's a new one. But I do understand the need there, and I'm going to answer it the same way, which is all this feedback is going to be considered carefully, and we need to figure out as we evolve the plans and add value and add features to them, just incorporating even more of a balance of all the needs. Obviously, we can't do a perfect plan for every single use case and every single user, but you're going to see us innovate and improve upon the functionality and the balance of features over time. So we appreciate the feedback.
I think what he may be referring to, Jello fan, correct me if I'm wrong here on this overages issue. If we're on a classic plan for $19 additional per month, we can host an extra 50 models. Correct?
Correct.
Chris?
Yes,
that's correct.
Okay,
correct.
So if I let me just run some. In fact, I'll go ahead and ask a question. I'm a classic member. I have classic pricing. What we've heard is that we can add an additional professional account, process the models in professional, transfer them back to the classic plan. Is that correct?
Checking with Damien on that one.
Rephrase that for me, Dan, make sure I understand.
Yeah. So I'm at me personally, I'm at 300 models. Let's say my processing is costing me more than $69 a month. At $69, it would make sense to get a $69 professional account, then process models with my new account, and using the transfer feature, transfer those models back to my classic plan. Let's say I was under the, no, I'm at 300, and then I pay an extra $19 to have another 50 models a month in my account. Is that correct?
Correct.
Good. So, and is there, and I hear we'll get at least a year's notice in terms of a change related to classic pricing, if that was to change. Would that also be the case with transfer, meaning we presently can transfer models for free? Can we count on at least a year that we'll be able to transfer models for free?
It's good. So first off, thanks for highlighting the use case. I've seen that on your forum. I've seen the post that you had around, how to take.
I'm trying to look for a way, Damien, that perhaps those of us that are on a classic plan can be happy with classic. And what I'm suggesting is, okay, I'm on a classic plan forever, at least. I can activate for $19, get up to another 50 models. If I'm processing, if I'm paying for processing more than $69 a month, then it would make sense to open up at least to have a second account, process my models, transfer them from my new account back to my existing account. And as long as transfer is free, then I am still at the, I want to say at $2 per additional model for hosting. So right now at 300 models in a $1,500 a year account, I'm paying $5 a year for hosting. Under the new plan, that's going to be $29 or even as high as $48, depending on how you count, going back to Leon's explanation of you don't fill up the account overnight and therefore you don't get the benefit of it. So what I'm trying to ask is, can I transfer my models, pay for the $19 for another 50 models, and still have the benefit of that lower original price for hosting?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I completely understand the use case. So look, what you're saying is like, look, I see the benefits of the new plan and I'm going to go sign up for a new plan because I realize those benefits, right? And it's a first step towards, adoption and, and realizing the value of what they bring. Okay. So now the paradigm that you explained, is valid today. Yes, you can, sign up to, 2 plans, or sorry, sign up to the new plan and keeping your, your classic plan. You can transfer the models. I'm not here to comment necessarily, whether or not this is going to be, an indefinite, transfer, capability. Our job here is, look.
Well, Damien, I need to push back a little bit because the transfer feature is presently part of the classic plan. It's a huge benefit to the existing Matterport service providers that have been around quite some time to say, oh, well, this would be a way that I'm not capped with the number of models that I can host on my classic plan. And if I really do have a thriving business and I'm processing with more than $69 a month, then it would make sense for me to add another account. And then at some point, if you keep loading on membership benefits into the professional and business account, then maybe there would actually be a reason to switch. But in terms of keeping everybody happy who's a classic member, if you let us know that transfer would remain free for another year, then I think that scenario may resonate with a number of pros.
So Dan, I think it's a good suggestion. We're not going to make some feature and policy decisions on live TV, but we're going to go back and we're going to answer this question and we're going to answer it on your forum. So let's take it head on. I understand the use case. I also believe in my heart of hearts that as many of you start to use the new tiers and we start to add value to the tiers that you'll want to be at that level. But for now, I applaud the creative solutions to make what we have on the table work for your businesses today, and I appreciate the flexibility. So if you're willing to work that hard to keep things in kilter for your business, I think it just shows a lot of passion for Matterport. So we'll do our part and go back and evaluate that exact question.
That sounds great. I know we've had you on the line for about an hour and a half. I think it's really at the point we should wrap up, unless any of our service members have burning desired questions that absolutely must be asked Kevin Dole.
You can count on me, Dan. Damien and Chris, thank you both for the time today. Really appreciate it. Chris, quite 30, 45 minutes ago, at one point, Ross asked the question about having advanced notice, and you essentially promised him that if the classic plans were ever to be unplugged, you'd give us a year's notice.
Correct.
What I would like, what I'm requesting here in front of everyone else, is give us at least 1 month's notice from when the announcement came last week for us to decide which of the classic plans we would like to be on going forward as an option to switching onto the new plan. If you're going to promise in advance a year's notice for something that could happen in the future, put something behind it, put some ammunition behind it by giving us 1 month now to assess all of these options that we have as classic Matterport users.
So I think it's a fair suggestion. I also think it's part of a comment that I made even farther back on the broadcast, where we are committed to growing our MSP program and working with you and talking with you more often about these sorts of things. So as part of our reboot on the MSP program and our re-engagement with ambassadors, I think there will be a way that we can have a channel, a communication channel that is confidential, that brings our partners into a conversation. I'm not promising any time-bound thing at this point, but I am promising that we're going to up our level of effort and our communication with all of you.
Yeah, it's the one thing that I'd really like to see. I think you upset a lot of people by not communicating. I still haven't got an email saying anything about the changes in prices. So, you need to communicate with people, and preferably not on the day that you do something new. I mean, I know you've got secrets and whatever, and you don't want the market to know, blah, blah, blah. But we pay a lot of money, and it would be nice to, be informed about what's going on. That's all. Thank you.
Let's keep this conversation going, and let's double down on our efforts to have a vibrant MSP program and communications like that, because I do think it's within reach.
Terrific. Chris and Damien, before I come back to you for the almost final word, I just wanted to thank Ali. I wish I knew how to say that in Turkish, but thank you for being on the show today. John, Ross, Leon, Kevin, Jefferson Takada, arigato gozaimasu, Romain, merci beaucoup. I think it's really been helpful to have you all, on the show today to express how you feel about the new pricing, to ask your questions. So I thank you for doing that. I did also hear that Chris said he'd like to continue the conversation in the We Get Around Network Forum. Chris, if I have that correct.
Yes.
So I think what we should continue to do is that as we have either concerns or objections or recommendations or solutions, is to post them in the forum, give Matterport they've joined the community this week to be part of the community, to listen, to contribute, and to get back to us. And so I think we've now opened up a new channel of communication that hopefully will be good for everyone. Chris and Damien, before I wrap it up, do you all have anything that you'd like to say?
I would really like to thank all of you for your honesty and candor. This is how we learn about what we need to do and want to do in the future iterations of the product. Obviously, we can't take every suggestion, and we have some balancing to do, but I'll tell you, as customer obsessed marketer and product manager, Damien and I are listening and are learning. We're learning from you. So I hope this is the first of several interactions that we can do. Dan will be back on. This was a really great forum, and I thank you for setting it up.
Thank you. Damien, anything before we...
Just to echo Chris, so thank you very much, Dan, for setting that up. Thank you everyone for participating. It's super useful to connect, put faces on names. We see you, posting and commenting. So just a quick thank you, merci, obrigado, whichever languages we had today. See you guys soon.
Good. And thank you for tuning in. I'm super appreciated. If you tuned in a little bit late, we have recorded the show today. We will post it in the We Get Around Network forum tomorrow, Friday, May 17th, 2019. If we missed your question, I know we had a lot of questions in our virtual studio audience. We didn't get to them all. Please do post them in the We Get Around Network forum. I think the Matterport folks are listening. They want to engage. I think that's something new in a new spirit that we haven't heard before, and we're happy to hear that. If you've been watching on our YouTube channel, join the conversation. We Get Around Network Forum.com or WGAN Forum.com for short. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Chris, again, thank you. Damien, thank you.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, Thursday, May 16th, 2019, from around the world. Thanks for tuning in to WGAN-TV Live at 5. Thanks all. Good to see you. Much appreciated for participating today. See you in the forum.